Hello and welcome to the podcast of the Card Table, in which we discuss creation, practice, performance, and history with the greatest minds in Magic. Before we begin, I am incredibly excited to announce that this podcast is now brought to you by MAGICBOX, one of the UK's leading bricks and mortar magic shops, stocking everything from Murphy's, Penguin, Theory 11, Ellusionist, and so much more. They have all of your magical needs covered, and with their price match guarantee, they'll never be beaten on price. Plus, as listeners of the podcast, you will receive 10% off your order when you use code PATCT at the checkout. That's PATCT. Check the link in the description below for more details, and without further ado, let's get on with the episode. Today's guest is a world-renowned performer and creator known for pushing the boundaries of magic with a combination of high-risk stunts, original magic, and hilarious comedy. Having started his professional career consulting with some of the biggest names in magic, including Dynamo, and producing his own tricks through his visual store, before breaking into the performance side, co-founding the sellout show Insane Magic at the Edinburgh Fringe, to producing his own solo shows like The Magic Hangover. It is, of course, the incredibly talented Luke Osey. How are we doing today, Luke? You well? The confetti cannons.
Osey's in the house. Hello.
I'm going to throw a few DJ sounds in there as well.
Yeah,
How are we doing, man? You well?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm just not really doing much right now. Well, I'm doing this podcast. I'm just
Not much.
I'm just chilling out after the Fringe. I think it was really needed. I'm okay now, I think, but there was definitely a period of like Fringe blues that lasted an eternity. I can't believe it's only been 3 weeks.
It's wild, isn't it?
That's
like
crazy.
It feels like it's been so long, but at the same time, the Fringe also feels like it was yesterday in a weird way.
Yeah.
But I feel like the Fringe went over so unbelievably fast this year. Like last year, it felt like a big stint, but this year it was pretty swift. I don't know if it was the same for you performing
I think maybe
multiple shows a day.
we didn't have many problems, I think, so it went quite quickly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was no issues with it. We didn't have to rewrite a show. We didn't have
True.
to, there was no there wasn't that much drama in this. Well, there was a bit, but there's always drama. There wasn't that much drama or anything, so like we sort of just got on with it and just did it, and it was quite easy. It did feel like an eternity, but I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty smooth sailing compared to the year before.
I don't know. It's just even like Adelaide is so long, but it's great. But like Adelaide Fringe, I think, is a longer festival. It's like 4 or 5 weeks, and Edinburgh's only, strictly speaking, like 3.5. But
Sometimes it doesn't feel like it, man.
I think Edinburgh's
some days
too long. I think Edinburgh's 1 week too long. I think it should be 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, fair. So what is your thought then on Adelaide? Do you think that's like far too long, or does it feel different?
The thing with Adelaide is you're already doing one show a month. Sorry, one show a day, right? And you don't really start until like 5 p.m. I feel like I could get a day off every week. I feel like I could do that for years.
Yeah, that's fair. That's just like standard.
Just a job.
Life, innit? Yeah, it's just...
Except it's not a job because you're only
an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean,
half an hour set up, do the show, pack that leave.
Marketing, so you might be working for like 3 hours a day, maybe 4, but not much.
The life you want to live, innit?
Exactly.
So we're gonna hop straight into this. We're gonna do what we always do. I mean, it's probably the most dull part in general because everyone's origin story is normally relatively similar. But just in case anybody doesn't know who you are, doesn't know where you've come from, and doesn't know what you've done, could you give us a quick introduction as to where your origin started in Magic and sort of how your journey's gotten you to where you are today? And then we'll delve a little deeper on some of the specifics.
Yeah, so my name is Luke Osey. My real name is Lucas Osland, but that was too long, so I shortened it. But a lot of the things that I publish is still under the name Osland, to try and keep that separate from the performing. I've been doing magic for as long as I can remember. I think I always sort of grew up having magic sets for Christmas and stuff, but maybe when I was about 8 or 9 years old, it was really big on TV at the time. So there was that huge wave of magic. In the span of, a few years, we had the Magicians, and there was Penn and Teller Fool Us. Dynamo had his series. Troy was just getting his series. Ben Hanlon as well. So there was Help My Supply Teacher's Magic. There were so many like banging TV shows that it was very popular. I think it was cool as well for a period of time. And so I really got into it, I think, throughout all of that, which is then fun because I then ended up consulting for quite a few of those people later on, which was nice.
So how does somebody go from just having a magic set to then slowly getting more into magic, then just creating and consulting with some of the biggest names in the world? Like, that's not really the usual storyline or path for a magician, especially even in consulting. Normally it's a case of doing magic for a long time, building a name, building a reputation, and then you just slowly move into it that way. But you started consulting at a relatively young age in comparison to quite a lot of people.
I think the consultancy thing is weird because really the consultant you want is someone that's done it for years, whereas I hadn't, but that was because my brain worked in a slightly different way. It took me a really long time to realize that magic was like for sale. Like you could go, Penguin Magic and you buy just one trick like that. I never really knew about that until being into magic for a good 4 or 5 years. I sort of, I knew about magic sets. I knew you could look at books and stuff like that. But I didn't actually understand that someone could sell one trick for 20, 30 pounds. So I was always sort of coming up with my own ideas or building these little gimmicks or something. When I say gimmicks, I mean like one card cut in half, like nothing major. And then I found out that people were selling tricks and I started getting into it more and more. And I had this obsession, I think, because of companies like Ellusionist and Theory 11 were making it look really cool to release a magic product. And the whole thing of, he's got a release. Mate, you're a card magician, like chill out. Do you know what I mean? But, I don't know why this word release got thrown about so much. And I thought that was really cool as well. So I wanted to be a creator. I wanted to come up with ideas. I wanted to put them out into the magic world, which is what I did. So when I was about 15, 16, I put my first product called Portal, which was a coin in can trick. Really fun little, quite workable trick. I don't perform it anymore, but I still sort of teach it to people. So I put that out and I just kept on releasing stuff. During the pandemic, I got really bored. I did a membership where I put out a trick every week. I started consulting properly when I was about 16. I'd sell gimmicks to people, right? So I'd sell like ideas I'd made. I had this Malteser box trick and like tricks with straws and tricks with, I don't know, whatever, Mikado. That was a weird one. Like tricks for social media. And I had this group chat and people could, it was all made to order. They could buy it off me for whatever, £30 or something. And then I ended up working for Dynamo on Beyond Belief, which was definitely like my best gig and my sort of claim to fame as far as consultancy goes. I started as a runner there and then eventually got promoted to a consultant, which was great fun. Did that for a bit, ended up managing his TikTok for a while, and then sort of consulted for people here and there, a lot of social media people, Neil Henry, Magical Bones, Julius Dean. I went out to Mexico for a few months with him. I don't know, Troy as well, like loads of people and just doing these sort of little bits of work. And then I don't know, I wanted to start performing when I turned like 19. I thought I want to write and perform a show and see how it goes. So I took a show to the Edinburgh Fringe. It was pretty shit, but then I kept on working it, and now I've been sort of a more or less a full-time performer, or a full-time magician at least, for since the pandemic really.
Before we quickly hop into that performance side of things, just one super quick question. Obviously, you mentioned there that you were creating for a lot of other names. How did you come about creating those relations? Was it just through them seeing your stuff on social media and being like, wow, that's incredibly visual, that's cool, I like what he's doing? Or were you reaching out to people? Like, how did you go about creating those sort of connections?
I think magic conventions has a big sort of thing to do with it. I was very good at sort of networking from a very young age. Like if there was someone I wanted to talk to, I'd chat to them. And I'd also constantly be showing people these little things that I'd made. And I got myself in with the right circles as well. So when I went to the Young Magicians Club, which is the Magic Circle Youth Initiative, and at the time I was a member at the same time as like Tom Elderfield, and so I became quite good friends with him. He introduced me to all of the Dynamo lot, so Rory Adams, Bob Pound, Harry de Cruz. And so I met all of them through that. I then knew all of the Ellusionist lot just from conventions as well. And they sort of, I feel like there was a point where everyone kind of had their eye on me, but they weren't sure what I was going to do. And so just kind of networking really, and just getting to know people that way. I've been quite lucky. I feel like I don't remember how I met all these people. I just know people, and I don't really know how.
It's strange. You seem to know everyone, especially walking around the Fringe and stuff. Like people are always like, "Oh, hi, look, how you doing?" It's just like, how how do you know this many people from like a variety of different backgrounds and performance styles and everything? It's just absurd.
Mate, I went to a comedy night in Edinburgh the other day on a Wednesday, or a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I was on a date, and we sort of sat towards the back. So I was like, not that's going to happen, but just in case the acts, like one of them might recognize me, I don't want it to throw them off or anything. So anyways, I get picked on even though I'm in the back row. I'm a great sport for like comedy shows, right? And it seemed a little bit dry. And this woman's like, "Oh, anyone in from England?" And no one cheered. Like, that is a lie. We're in Edinburgh. There's obviously people. Most people in Edinburgh are from England, right? Like there's obviously some people there. I went, "Yeah, I am." "Oh, where are you from?" I went, "Oh, Hertfordshire." "What are you doing in Edinburgh?" And that's a hard question for me because I spend a lot of time there, but strictly speaking, I don't live there. So I said, "Oh, I kind of live here sometimes," but I was being very cryptic, so I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
And later on, she came back. She said, "Someone just told me who you are, Luke. You're a very sneaky boy." It makes sense. I don't know who told her, but yeah, even like situations like that, I can't escape it. But it's nice. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't imagine being recognized in various different places. No thanks. Must be nice though. Must be nice to know.
The worst happens at like a bar or like a club or something. I remember distinctly. I wasn't there for this, but on like the last day of the Fringe, Elliot and Cam went to a nightclub, and there was this guy walking around with the poster for Insane Magic, and Elliot and Cam were like, "That's us on there," and he was like, "No, these are some performers." He was just walking around with it.
Obviously, you mentioned there that you then ventured into performance. At what point in your life was that performance change? At what age, and sort of why did you then want to venture into that? What changed in your mindset where you were like, you know what, I don't necessarily want to create anymore. I want to actually give this a blast myself.
I think during the pandemic, there was definitely a realization of why am I creating these ideas for other people when I could do it myself. And I remember being on a call on like Clubhouse, on the app Clubhouse, and I think it was I'd started sort of hanging out with a lot more performers and a lot more theatrical people as well. I think Richard Young said on the call, was like, why aren't you performing? Like, surely do you not realize how much fun performing is compared to create, like sitting at home writing in your notepad? Like, obviously being on stage is so much fun. I just never really thought about it. And I did a couple of gigs sort of just as the pandemic stopped, and it was really rough. Like those first few times you go on stage, you just bomb, and it was really hard. I still have a script somewhere printed out of like both my first ever like public sort of 10-minute spot I did. So it was hard, but then yeah, I thought, okay, I'm going to put together this show. The first one was Drunk Magic, so for me, like I wasn't nervous because I was getting drunk every night, right? So it didn't really matter. And also, it's kind of, I could hide behind the premise of the show a bit. If the show is good shit, I'm hammered, so it doesn't really matter. Which was quite a good starting point. And then I realized actually that's not how you perform. It's not good to just to get wasted. So I don't really drink before shows anymore, which is good.
Sometimes.
Like one time's allowed, right?
Yeah, of course. It's the Fringe.
Exactly.
It doesn't count. It's not even the real world. We're going to hop into a little bit more of a deep dive into your likes and dislikes within the magic industry with some of our quickfire questions. As I mentioned to you at the start, and as I mentioned every week, this is never ever quickfire, so don't worry if you want to expand on things. It makes for a significantly more enjoyable lesson than one-word answers. But our first quickfire question is, what is your favourite sleight? And again, most people assume that this is card stuff, but it doesn't necessarily have to be cards. It could be coins, could be props, could be stage stuff. It's entirely up to you.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Okay. I thought about cards. Spoiler alert, Corey sent these questions to me before. Oh, it's so off the cuff.
Spoil the magic.
So I thought, I just presumed it was card sleights. I put diagonal palm shift. It's fun. I can't say that I've ever used it in performance, but it is for sure probably the card sleight I've done the most work with, and that I've practiced the most. And I've got a few tricks that do use it, but I wouldn't perform. But they're still quite magician-y tricks, right? And it's fun. It's satisfying to do. And then sleight on I don't really know what a sleight on stage would be. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to answer that. But yeah, let's go diagonal palm shift.
No problem. I mean, you're probably the fifth or sixth person to say diagonal palm shift, and I think it is down to that sort of satisfying tactile nature that when you get it good, it's worth like the work that you've put into it, and it just feels really nice doing the motion. I'm
changing my answer because I realized actually it's a variant. It's an LJ angle steal, and it's a Larry Jennings move. So it's not a full diagonal palm shift, right? Because you get it to there and you steal it out in Tenkai. That's the move. So scrap the answer before. Fuck the diagonal palm shift. LJ angle steal by Larry Jennings. That's the move you want to
be different. Gotta be different.
Put that in your locker.
Perfect. The next one is your favorite plot in Magic. This doesn't necessarily have to be something that you specifically perform. It could be something that you enjoy watching or something that you enjoy the premise of. But do you have a particular favorite plot in Magic?
I like items to impossible location, or any trick where something goes from somewhere to another, right? So the item doesn't necessarily have to be someone's watch. It could be like a person, but or a bike vanishes and goes somewhere else. I think that's a really fun plot. It feels very magical, right? Like teleportation, making something vanish and reappear somewhere else is I think is pretty elite. When I was going through sort of plots in my head, I thought about what sometimes we do on stage, and I think there's a lot of plots in Magic that are there brutally to sort of just kill time. Like a roulette routine, right, which could end in items of multiple location. A roulette routine is kind of a time filler. I know I say this, I know I do a roulette routine in my show, but it's kind of the shortest version of a roulette routine there could be, right? There's 4 items. The first one kills attention. The second one is one where everyone's a bit shaky. And the last one is your sort of, okay, thank God it's over here. Whereas I think a lot of roulette routines where someone's like credit card and they've got 8 envelopes that they're cutting through, like that is clearly filler. Or, fizz roulette where you have to wait a deceptively long time for a can after you've shaken it to open it up. I think that, again, sometimes when you see someone pull out like an 8-pack of cans, chill out, mate, right? This is just get to the point, use 2 cans, do your But I think I have a lot of problems with a lot of I also a lot of the tricks I do I sometimes have problems with. I don't know if they make sense, right? Like razor blade swallowing. I have a version of that I sometimes do. I used to do it in Insane. That I have a problem with. I don't know what the trick is. Yeah. If you don't know what the trick is, that's a really weak place to be as a performer. The idea of putting blades in your mouth, swallowing some thread. What's the trick? Am I swallowing them? Are they going into my stomach? And then I'm swallowing the thread and I'm using or I'm bringing it all back up? Or is the trick that I'm putting the raised blades in my mouth and I'm tying them with my tongue, which I think is much more believable. I don't really know what the angle of it is. And I think that's something I need to get better at, is making sure that I understand the tricks I'm performing.
Yeah, if it's confusing for the performer themselves, then what is the audience thinking about when they see it?
There's some things that we do which we describe as like a bit of a head fuck, right? Like the idea of heist, our impossible location trick, which I won't talk about too much. We do items impossible location. The idea of an item that's vanished is already in a location someone's holding on to. It's like diabolically impossible, but it's also it's a bit of a head fuck for an audience member to think about. How is that? Which is what magic is, right? But sometimes plots can feel a little bit complicated.
Yeah, but there's still that premise of it's gone from there to there at some point. Like there's still the nature of the trick, whereas as you say, with some effect, you get to the end of it and you go, something happened and it was cool, but what just happened?
Yeah, which I'm not against as well. I think if something is pretty and visual, it's fine. Like, you can pretty much drill any manipulation axe down to he made a lot of stuff appear, which is well, sorry, they made a lot of stuff appear because we so it's tough. But anyways, I think items of possible location is my favorite plot. I think, just whilst we're on the topic of plots, to keep this quick fire, I'll go on. I think I'm having a real difficult time with escapology and escapes as a plot right now. You've seen in Insane, we sort of take the piss out of escapes in general. But I think
because at the end of the day, they're going to get out. So it's just tension. It's just nothingness until they get out. It's just like, it's going to happen.
Like we quite often call straight jacket escapes someone taking off a jacket. It's you're watching someone get unclothed, right? And it's so hard to make escapes interesting because you just do know they're going to get out. There's never really. I think if there's a level of threat which.
Like fire and spikes and height, like fair enough. But it's still.
It has to be not quite like life-threatening, right? Like a huge thing. If you're touring a show and you're saying, I'm going to escape from these knives, and it's always taking me 2.5 minutes, but today I'm going to try to do it in 2 minutes. You've done this show 40 times. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas I think water escapes is still interesting because there's still a feat of how are they holding their breath. I also think that ones where there's a little bit of, I don't know, like one thing I was working on with a friend is an act where it was a straitjacket escape, but I eat a chili at the start of it, and when I escape, I can then drink the milk, right? So you're still seeing me suffer throughout that escape, and then it's almost like the suffering stops when
you get that payoff,
as opposed to it starting when you get out. So that's something I've been having fun with recently, is how to make escapes interesting and not. I don't like it. I don't like it when like an audience is on edge, or if they're fearful that someone's actually in danger as well. So I've been having a quite kind of hard time dealing with that.
An interesting point that you mentioned there as well is something that I've thought about in the past of, for example, touring shows. Do you think audiences really think to the extent of, oh, this guy does this every day, therefore it has to be this? Like, for example, Darren's shows. A lot of his shows in the past have ended with this massive prediction that's all been preempted. Do you think people finish that show thinking, wow, that was phenomenal? Or do you think some people are then like, yeah, but it was probably the same yesterday and it's probably going to be the same tomorrow, and then they feel a little bit cheated by that?
Yeah, so we add a lot of things into our shows that make it seem like it's the first time we're doing them, even though it's exactly the same every time. I think it's nice. I think when you go see a play, right, you know it's going to be the same every time. There is the element of catching people off guard and stuff. But then again, as you say, you do it every night, right? The way Darren gets about that is he says that he was subliminally messaging you the whole way through.
Yeah.
And that's his sort of out of being like, well, of course it's the same every night. He put those thoughts inside my head.
Yeah.
I don't think people do think, oh, well, they do this every night. But also I think with escapes, no one thinks it's the first time you've done it. I had a line in our show where I say, oh, this is the first time this has ever worked, which is blatantly a lie. And I hate that line. I don't want to say it, but it comes out my mouth by accident. I've done that.
It gets a giggle, though.
It gets a giggle. I've done that routine 150 times, but it was just what comes out my mouth. And it's too worked in now to change it. So yeah, I don't think audiences think like that. And also because I think, because it's their first time seeing it, I think they don't, it's all new, right? It's too much to focus on. But no, it's a good point though.
It's just something that I've always pondered. It's something that came up in conversation a while ago, and I was like, huh, that is an interesting concept. But it's whether, again, it's the what's the word? The bias of knowing. Obviously, as a magician, you know these things, and you then overthink all of the little nuances because you know all of the little nuances, whereas audiences seeing stuff for the first time probably aren't even thinking like 10% of what you're thinking. That's by no means saying your audience is stupid, because they are significantly smarter and you should never treat them as stupid. But at the same time, I don't think necessarily all of the little nuances that go through your head need to be actioned in that sense.
An interesting sort of case study of this actually though would be, obviously when you hear a joke once, right, it's very fun. Well, if it's funny, you hear a joke once, you laugh, you hear it another time, to maybe show a friend, they laugh. The third time, it's not really funny. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of comedians I could watch relentlessly and always laugh, but it's not as funny. One of my friends, she went to see a comedy night, and then she saw another comedy night the next week, and one of the acts did the same 5 minutes in both shows. And she said, oh, well, I'd seen it before, and it just did the exact same stuff. And so I think, genuinely, I do think most of the people think that they are coming up with new material every night. They don't understand.
Every single night, yeah.
Yeah, which is nuts. But I think because observation or whatever, but she didn't understand that actually the reason it was so funny and the reason it was so tight is because he's probably done that tight 500 times.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. The next one, I don't know how much you particularly read, but do you have a particular favorite book? Whether this is something that you keep going back to for reference, or something that you maybe perform stuff from, or things that have maybe inspired you the most? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah.
And you can't say your own.
Okay. So, no. I would say Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. It's probably the last book I've read by choice. No, genuinely.
That is going on the social post. I hope you realise that.
I don't read a lot. I'm really bad for reading. I don't enjoy it. I don't like reading. I get bored. My brain doesn't work in a way that lends itself to reading. I've got such a short attention span. Especially when I wrote my books, they were done in a format that makes it very easy to read and very manageable to read 1 to 5 pages every day or per sitting, instead of having to sit there and read 17 pages to understand the effect of a trick. The probably one of the most, I don't know. I do think one book that that's not really a book though. I've got it here. Hang on. Here we go. This book.
Just slowly getting around the answer to the question.
The Scam School book, right?
Sensational.
Hear me out.
Brian Brushwood.
One of the best magic books. This was really, I used to love Scam School, right? Before as I was getting into magic, I was obsessed with puzzles and bar bets before. And this has got them all in it. This has got everything in it. If there's any like Facebook or Instagram creators that do those little shitty bar bet videos, get this book. That's your year's content right there. You'll notice a lot of similarities between this and my book. Super easy to digest. There's QR codes to everything. What a good idea. If only someone did that for a full magic book. I've done it twice. Buy my book. That's I don't read a lot, unfortunately. I'm working my way through Darren's book, but it's not going well. Not the book's not going well. I'm not going well with the book, and no one dies in it. I don't know. They might. No spoilers. Yeah.
I think that was the most chaotic answer we've had to that question, but we got there in the end.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of a show of the times as well. As we've moved on as a society, I think books are slowly becoming less sort of a forefront, especially in the sort of learning world, because of the need for visual aids. Like, I find it incredibly difficult, especially looking at the likes of, I've got Bifrost and Scene on my desk here, looking at a hand-drawn picture of a move in there and then trying to compute what that's supposed to look like and how it's supposed to work, I find so unbelievably difficult. But obviously then you make the move your own and it becomes your handling of it, so I get that.
It becomes more comfortable.
But at the same time, it's nice to have a starting point and then work back from there, as opposed to being like, okay, I've got this cave painting and I've got to figure out what it is from there.
You got Windings. There's a company, a great company, and this guy has taken, I think, all of the moves from like expert card table and he's rendered them, so it still looks like the hands, but he's rendered them into a 4D motion, and you can swivel it around and kind of watch it in slow motion and see it in the hands. So as opposed to a drawing, it's still got a classic feel of a drawing, but it's actually kind of an animation of that drawing in play. It's really cool. I'll try to find it.
That's incredibly cool, especially for the likes of Expert or by Bosses Unseen, to be able to see those movements from different angles, so you know where finger positions are without having to read and then try and interpret what it's trying to say from, you know, half a picture and half a paragraph, then putting those two together and trying to figure out what on earth's going on. That would be incredibly helpful. So very cool. Fair play to whoever did that, because that is extremely interesting. Our next one is, what is your favorite performance? This particularly being somebody that you've watched. It doesn't necessarily have to be a magic performance. Obviously, a lot of the answers previously have been magic performances. Knowing that you've come from a comedy background and magic background, it could be a comedian. Is there any particular standout performance that really changed either the way you think or the way you approach what you do, or just left a mark on you in general?
Yeah, I think I thought about it for magic. I'll give my magic answer at the end. But actually, there's probably a few standouts from when I was younger that will always stay with me. People like oh no, I'm going to forget his name now. Oh, the two Gamajabats.
Yeah.
Oh, just sensational
clowning at its highest level.
It's just so phenomenal. I remember seeing them from quite a young age. I've actually had Ketch. Do you remember Ketch did the show?
Yeah, I remember last year. We went to see Ketch's full show as well, which was absolutely phenomenal.
Oh, they're just phenomenal performers.
The staircase sequence is just 10 minutes of pure genius.
It's so amazing what you can do with a big bit of wood, basically.
Yeah, two before and a cloth.
Yeah, I think some of Kevin James's acts are certainly really, and I mean this in like the most literal sense, like pushing the boundaries of magic, right? Like I never thought you could do that kind of thing. I didn't think I was allowed. To create something so surreal, I think is amazing. All of Max Fulham's stuff, I'm a huge fan of from a comedy perspective, and just
seeing Max perform in person for the first time this year at the Fringe, the deep set appreciation for just how unbelievably talented that guy is, and it was just paced so perfectly from the start of the show to the end. I was absolutely howling, and you could just see how every beat and everything was thought through. Things that were thrown from the audience that you immediately had a response to. There was no thinking, there was no delay. It was just like, you could see that guy is just unbelievably talented. Like,
it's just generational talent. Like it's unbelievable. He's going to be massive, I think, in the next few years. If you ever get a chance to catch his show or him in any sense, go see it. Like a lot of comedians talk about the sort of laugh per minute, right? The LPM. 6 is always the aim, right? If you can get 6 laughs a minute, you're good, right? And so
Max is on like 26.
We didn't stop laughing. We literally did.
My face was hurting by the end of the show.
Yeah, we literally we all had an ear to ear grin coming out of it. We did not stop laughing. Like it was insane. So yeah, Max Fulham's a huge inspiration, and yeah, he's phenomenal. And then in terms of magic performances, I think I don't know. I'd have to. Probably should have thought about it more. I think I'm a big fan of all of Darren's stuff. And I think possibly one of the most Darren magic tricks is his card to box routine that he did in Showman, which you haven't seen. I think he's now streaming, so you can check it out. That's phenomenal, right? Like it's the most Darren magic trick I think ever. To convince, to convince a whole audience. Is that the right word? To convince a whole audience that you've hypnotized them, and for people to like genuinely believe it is unbelievable. And only he could do that as well. But there's no worries about people. I still don't know how it works either. Like I have ideas, but I've not really got any idea. It's just phenomenal. Yeah. So I think that would be up there, but also a lot of Darren's earlier stuff as well. I'm a big fan of. But yeah, he's definitely a performer that is very, very different to what I do, but very inspirational and just his sheer showmanship as well.
Yeah. I think even the little tidbits that I've seen in both Insane and your show of like show structure and narrative that are very Darren-esque, you can see those little bits of inspiration that have been taken and implemented. So
yeah,
it again goes back to, you can take inspiration and creativity from absolutely anything, even if it's not your style, even if it's not your kind of thing, you can still pull those little tiny bits of knowledge. It's like magic tricks. Everybody has a drawer of magic tricks that they're never going to do, but you can still go through and take things from that. And
do you want to play a game? I've got a drawer next to me of gimmicks. I'm just going to reach in and grab one. We could do this after this section, but I think this is a good game. So I don't know what's in there.
I mean, as long as we're not revealing anything, that's my only concern. This is public forum, but
okay, there's a latex ball sack here.
Yeah, also, providing it's not any of your usual things.
Got a biscuit here that was in a packet of biscuits. Trust me.
Obviously.
Oh, just a biscuit. Not going to eat it because it's made out of wood.
Like, I mean, it's cool, but have you used that at a gig? Have you used that in anything other than just messing about?
No, of course not.
There we go. But have you taken inspiration from things like that and then created stuff yourself?
I made this, brother. I made this.
Oh, and there you go.
I designed this. I had it 3D printed. Yeah.
3D printed out of wood?
Yeah. Well, wood, it looks like wood. It's plastic. It sounds like wood to me.
You say that's just very impressive if that's the case.
I think it is wood. I'm not sure. It might not be wood. It might be like it's pretend wood or something. But it looks like wood, and it sounds like wood. So.
And if anybody wasn't following along, that's exactly how it works.
Yeah, it's I baked it myself.
Down in the kitchen, brewing up your next trick. Hey, goodness. The next question in the quickfire section could get a little controversial because I know certainly magicians are very opinionated. What is your magic industry gripe? What is there in the magic community that you think maybe is either overdone or something that just doesn't deserve to be in the community, whether it be something that people are doing or something in general? Do you have a particular magic industry gripe that stands out?
Yeah.
If you can narrow it down to one.
Yeah, we'll go with this one, which if you might see me pop up occasionally on Facebook forums like Magicians Only, constantly saying this one thing, which is that not everything is for sale.
Yeah.
Right. And what I mean by that is quite often someone will post a video of maybe Justin Willman or Dynamo or someone performing a routine or a trick, and they post it on like from the special, they post it on the group and they put, hey, does anyone know what tricks is? I'd love to put it in my show. That's not how that works, right? Not everything's for sale. These people have consultants that they pay to come up with something just for them. In the same way that some people have come to Insane and after the show said, hey, what trick is that? I'd love to start doing it. No, fuck off. It's ours. We came up with it. You're not doing it. So that's my biggest thing, as well with like jokes and stuff. Magicians just take jokes from each other or like gags and bits, and like, no, there's not everything is for sale. You can't just have it. I think because magicians are so used to buying stuff from magicians, they think that everything is for sale, which is not true. And I've got in like full arguments on these forums with people. And they say like, oh, well, I'm just looking for something similar to put in my show. I'm like, no, you're not. You're directly
looking for that exact thing.
And they're trying to say, oh, well, does anyone have any ideas for methods I could do this thing in? No, fuck off. You're not doing it. Stop stealing people's material. That's my gripe.
That's fair. I think laziness in magic as a whole is a massive issue. Like you mentioned there, obviously people looking for methods, tricks that are being done that aren't necessarily supposed to be available, or even just people buying stuff and then doing it exactly as it comes. Like same routineng, same scripting, beat for beat, identical. Like, come on, if you genuinely have a passion for what you do, make it yours, make it unique, make it fun. And that's when it's going to be more engaging and it's going to be better than what you're initially, I mean, not necessarily better than what you're initially getting, because sometimes the product's fantastic, but still, you need to put your own spin on it.
It'll be more you as well. Like you because the jokes will be yours, they'll be funnier in theory, not always, but in theory, right? The whole idea of like built-in comedy, I hate that sentence. Built-in laughs or built-in comedy. No, put your own jokes, write your own jokes, put your own jokes in there. And writing jokes only comes from performing something for so long and finding your own jokes. So yeah, I'm not a fan of just the way the whole magic for sale industry is. But yeah, I'm also
going to keep supplying it anyway.
I'm a big part of it. I don't buy. I kind of rarely buy magic. I don't learn a lot of magic, which is a shame. I'd love to learn more. I don't buy books. I only buy DVDs. I buy lectures very rarely. The last thing I learned was that Zone Zero thing, and for my last show, and I love that. I love learning it. I love the whole process of it. I don't really learn much magic, and the stuff we buy is more like illusions and bigger props. So I kind of don't subscribe to the whole idea that you should just be able to buy tricks. But then again, I'm part of the problem because I'm selling tricks, I'm selling jokes and gags to people because it's the money. But I don't do it. I don't buy the stuff. But it's not to say people shouldn't buy my stuff.
Visualstore.com. Yeah, I completely get that, and I think the main issue as well in people being lazy and not making their tricks themselves, especially if you see like walk around stuff or you see stage stuff, you can almost see like 5 different performances within the same show.
Yeah,
because you're just seeing this person's trick how it is, then this person's trick how it is, then this one how it is, and you're getting like 3 different styles of that person as opposed to it being themselves and it having a flow and having a narrative that fits and having jokes that roll throughout. It gives it that personality and it makes it more streamlined in that sense. So yeah, I think it's a massive issue, but whether it's going to stop one, that's a different story because the magic community is lazy.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Final one before we move into some slightly deeper questions is, who were your influences? This could be, again, magic, comedy, performance. Who are your influences? If you had to narrow it down to, say, 5 or 6, if possible.
I think earlier on, sort of as I was getting into it and I definitely delved a bit further into sort of comedy side of stuff. So people like Pete Furman, for example, he was on TV when I was growing up. It's absolutely great. I think that's a good one. Obviously Darren as well. Some of them also sort of stunty things that I do. A lot of inspiration comes from David Blaine and some of the stuff that he's done in the past. Not quite to that extent. A lot of the stuff I do, I try to keep fun and light and kind of what I would describe as like a good amount of dangerous, not life-threatening or not actually like cutting myself, but definitely interesting. And then also like in the comedy world as well, I don't really know. It's hard. There's so many people, and I don't think my comedy relates so much to people. I'm not sure. But Pete Furman was definitely a big one for me. Justin Willman, big fan of his stuff, and his sort of, again, like stand-up style. First magician to do a Netflix special, right?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting. And then also, obviously people like Wes Barker, Dom Chambers, Ruben Moreland are three friends of mine, but also huge inspirations. Dom Chambers especially was, I think, the act that I was like, this is kind of who I want to be. I want to be someone that can drink beer on stage and do magic, right? Like that sounds so fun. Yeah. And Wes Barker's the same, right? So I think those people were definitely an inspiration.
It's finding like-minded people that you want to go for, but not replicating it, which I think you've done really well. You can still definitely see parts of those people in what you do, but in your own flair and your own style, as opposed to just being an exact replica of that person, which again comes back to laziness of performers.
Yeah, of course.
We're going to hop into some slightly deeper questions, slightly more in-depth questions. And the first one, obviously, creating stuff both for yourself, for other people in the community, and for, obviously, consultancy purposes, means you've created a lot of magic, and obviously that has to have come from somewhere. So where do you take inspiration from in the creative sense, and what does your creative process look like when you're developing a trick? Where do you start, or is there not necessarily a similar start point for everything? Do they sometimes come in like full form ready ideas? Do they sometimes start as something that's just like a tiny idea and then it grows from there? What is your creative process, and how do you draw inspiration from the things around you?
I have a lot of different creative processes because I'm someone that changes the way I think quite a lot. And I always say, like mind blank quite a lot. So it's important to have a lot of different ways that you can go about it. Definitely in the sort of early days when I was coming up with quick social media things, it was very much grabbing some objects, right? And this is something which I think Tom Otterfield told me to buy a bunch of one thing and try work something out with it. Like just sort of throw methods at it and see what happens. But actually just like sort of holding objects and playing with them, and you realize, this could do this, this could do this. Like, I think that's where most of the stuff has come from. Like I'll be holding a bottle or a can tab and I'll just be playing with it. I'll be like, if I bent it this way, if I folded it this way, it could do that. If I put this bottle here, if I had elastic, it's normally elastic. Spoiler alert, it's normally elastic magnets and Velcro. That's how and duct tape. That's how everything works. But yeah, I think it's normally being like, this could work here. Nowadays, quite often I'll see something and then that will spring to mind. I'll be like, I could turn this into this. I could change. Like I was chatting to you sort of before we started this podcast. I found this really old like kids magic trick and thought, that is shit, but there's something in it. I just don't know what it is yet. And so I bought it, had to play with it, and then thought, it's this, made this other thing, and suddenly it's this new idea, right? It's not even remotely close to what it was before. So that's another way. For stage stuff and stage routines, sometimes a joke or a gag will sort of just, I use this phrase quite a lot, it will just reveal itself, right? Yeah. So if you're on stage and you're doing something and something happens or someone heckles or something in the room happens, you're like, that's it, that's what this needs. And so it's purely through flight time that I sort of come up with ideas and stuff, or other people will let me know. Like this show, for example, the Magic Hangover, I had some friends after that said to me, I really thought this was going to happen. And that suddenly was me being like, no, that is totally what should happen.
Yeah.
And again, like thinking of, maybe it should be this, maybe it should be this. Another thing I do is I think about plots. So I think about, say, a roulette routine, for example. I wanted to do a roulette routine. I didn't want it to be boring. I wanted it to be fast-paced. I wanted it to be able to fit in my pocket. And then suddenly I came up with my cigarette roulette routine, which none of the listeners have probably seen. It's really good. Spoiler alert.
Very good.
Yeah, so I think that just having those premises and seeing how I can make them more me and more new is definitely a good thing. As I say, just sort of combining methods with objects is always a good starting point, and working out how I can make an older premise mine. I've been writing this new show at the minute, and I'm really looking at a lot of like dangerous magic tricks and how they could be more entertaining. So I'm trying to think of how could you make a bullet catch safe and fun, right? And so that's a few different ideas.
Okay, so at sort of the crux of it all is just taking something and flipping it completely on its head and seeing how you can take a look at it in a totally different light.
Yeah, one creative process which I'll say, because I go back to this one a lot, is I give myself a brief, right? So I decide a location or a theme. So that could be Valentine's Day, it could be like a holiday, it could be a place, it could be a feeling or an emotion. But I come up with that. So let's say a bar, for example, right? That's the normal one for me anyways. And then I write down everything you'd find there. So I start writing down things like, okay, there'd be kegs there, there'd be tables, stools, straws, napkins, cans, bottles, spirits, decanters, cocktail shakers. I write down all of the items that would be there. And then off of them, I start sort of combining items, and I just like mind map on a big whiteboard. And I start saying, okay, well, what if you did this with this? So for example, what if the cocktail shaker went through the bar stool? So suddenly you're seeing these items that make sense to go together with each other, and literally pushing them into each other and just seeing what happens. And it feels very much like, you know, when someone's doing like a murder, they're trying to work out who's murdered, and a string going everywhere.
Yeah.
It feels very much like that. And you sort of become a radio picking up signals of being like, okay, well, this will go with that. And it feels great as well when you do it on a big board. So that's my favorite and probably the one I use the most as far as.
How do you then keep track of everything in that sense? Do you have journals? Do you have notebooks? Do you have digital notes that you're keeping track of all this stuff? Because I can imagine in that sense, especially if you've got so many like different ideas and things going on and you've got all these cross sections, how are you then keeping track of? Because I can imagine, especially knowing myself, I can start on one idea, and then if my brain picks up on something else, I go over here and completely forget what's happened here, and then it's just vanished into the abyss. How are you keeping track of this, or is that just how your brain works?
I really should keep track of it. Like there's so many things I've come up with that I've just forgotten. There's a little trick with a pack of sugar that I remembered the other day, purely because it came up in my like camera roll memories because I'd taken a video of it. For me, I fly through notepads, right? Like I've always got one next to me or open. I absolutely fly through them. They always fit in my pocket. I take them with me everywhere. And if you ever see me like on a train, I'll quite often like something will happen. I'll grab a notepad. There's one in my bedside table. There's always one in my backpack. There used to be one in my car. I don't think there is anymore, purely so I can do that. I don't like writing down on like notes things that are creative. I don't mind to-do lists are fine on there, but anything remotely creative, I don't like writing on a phone. If I'm driving or if I'm somewhere where I don't have a notepad, I'll take a voice note of that idea, because I know that me explaining it that way will be better than whatever I've written down.
Trying to put it into words.
Yeah. Whereas notepads are great because I can do drawings and sketches and stuff. I don't know if there's any examples in this. This is a new notepad, so there's pretty not much in here. It's actually. I
feel like there's almost an unwritten rule of if it's going in your phone notes, it needs to be like polished and nice.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's going in a notebook, it can be scrappy and it can be creative.
Yeah, I like the idea of getting one of those remarkable pads.
Yeah.
The sort of idea, because then it's all in folders, and I can have a folder which is magic ideas, and I can put that idea into there and that idea into there. They're too big for me though.
Yeah.
They're like
something pocket size.
Hey, if what's the guys that make Audience Wonderland? What's he called? Max. You make something this size, right? Phone size. That is a paper like notepads that still has all the features of a folder. And I would like that. I think other people would like it too. There's something the size of your phone that's not your phone. Yeah. But yeah, I absolutely fly through notepads. I don't keep great track of it. I'm a big believer in make something work before you make it pretty. I will just try build something or some kind of prototype for something. Every trick you see me do, there's always been some really scrappy version of it. And then I try make it work. I try film it and send it to a few mates straight away, just so it's not just me that knows about that idea. Like I have a couple of close friends. I'm like, I'm just going to send this to you so I don't forget about it. What do you think? Have you got any ideas as well? Like the group chats we're in, you're constantly getting videos from me snorting ribbons up my nose or pushing a condom through my ear or something, like just random stuff, right? But it serves a purpose. It's there to see what you guys think, what could make it better, and also so we don't forget about it.
Yeah. Again, one of the vegan nuggets in this little bad lad is collaboration. Collaboration's massive, as you say, whether it's for creating methods or whether it's just bouncing ideas off people. It's nice to have that different viewpoint, because it's so easy to look at something yourself and be like, okay, I've exhausted every thought, but no, you've exhausted all of your thoughts, and a fresh set of eyes on it from a totally different angle might be the difference it needs to get it to the place that you want it.
And it can take literally one little thing that someone says you to be like, that's exactly what this is.
Yeah.
And then it starts again, right? But you quite often you hit a wall with something, and then someone might mention something, you're like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. I was on a call with Neil Henry the other day, actually, talking about my new version of Botox, and I did it, and he just said, oh, you could hold it this way, and your hand looks way more empty. And as soon as he said that, I was like, that's exactly why I'm on the phone with you right now. Like, that's great.
Yeah, again, it's those little tidbits, and even if it's not, sometimes it's not even useful things that people say that still spark like.
Time, it's not useful what people say, but yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of nuances over the years where it's just been like a random bit of shit that somebody said, and I've gone, actually, that's not at all what I'm gonna do with it, but it's definitely sparked something that's gonna help us further along. So that's fair. Obviously, your solo shows and the shows that you produce, i.e. Insane Magic, and obviously this year you did one hour of Insanity as well. But what does the show creation process look like there? Obviously, you just mentioned the creation process for your tricks. You start off with this scrappy design, you start off with the idea, and then you polish it from there. What does the actual show creation process look like for whether it be your solo show or whether it be 1 hour of Insane Magic? Obviously, they're two totally different things, because one's almost 90% just you, and then the other one is a very collaborative product of yours, Elliot's and Cammy's. So what does the process look like as a sort of framework?
I think everything has to start with an idea, and that idea can be that you just want to do a show, but everything has to start with some kind of idea. For us, it was that we wanted to create a fast-paced commercial family magic show for Insane, and for Hangover, again, I just had the idea. I still had the name of the show. I had this idea of like, I'm not going to remember what happened the night before, but the audience will, which isn't actually at all what the show ended up being, but that was what it was for a long time.
Yeah.
So I think having some kind of premise or some kind of title or something that you like, or an end goal or a starting, like for example, it could literally be that you've got a great idea for an opener for a show, but you need to be in a barn with haystacks. Suddenly that's now your show, right?
Yeah.
So some kind of starting point there. And then you just sort of try to fill it out, really. I hate using the word fill, because it's not like we're just trying to cram stuff in or shoehorn things in.
Yeah.
But there is an element of you just sort of build it up, right? Like it's like baking a cake. You need all these different components and these different ideas, and eventually you end up with a show. So it's not really an easy answer to it. It's normally material first, like ideas for material first, then scripting. But this can be act by act, right?
Yeah.
You have an idea, you then script it, and then tech and making it all pretty, as I say, is the final thing.
When you're doing that, are you thinking narratively first what you want to do for the show? Or are you thinking, I have this cool trick that I want to put in, we'll figure out the narrative leads later? Or does it vary from what you're putting in as to how it fits in that sense?
It's a bit of everything, really. I know that I definitely, the narrative we stuck on for Hangover definitely revealed itself, and everything just clicked, right? I had ideas for bits in that show. I had maybe 20 minutes of sort of bits, and then I had the idea for the name of the show, but it wasn't quite working with the current narrative. Something just clicked, and I had this new narrative idea, and then everything just sort of, once you have that and you know what the show is, you have the material just slips its way in. And then yeah, so I don't know. It's a bad answer. It can be anything though. It doesn't. There's no one answer. Whatever works.
Yeah. Do you think that comes from just sort of having that creative backlog of tricks and bits and ideas that you can pull things from? You can then look at a show or a premise and you can go, okay, these 3 or 4 things that I've previously thought about might fit into this, and then you can throw that out to the boys, for example, and then get their responses on that? Or is it just like it just kind of falls into place as you guys are talking accordingly?
Yeah, sometimes we'll just be having beers and we'll just come up with an idea for a routine, right? And then that will be like, that is exactly what we need. This year in Insane, there was we initially were basically going to do the same show as we did last year, and we were like, well, let's do a different ending. And then once we said that, we're like, well, actually, you know, your solo could be better, your solo could be better. The opening could be much better, and actually opening doesn't really make sense right now because we've changed this part, and my solo bit here could be this solo bit here instead. And so without realizing it, when you have time and when you're talking to each other, everything just sort of slips in. One thing we learned sort of from Darren's book actually is the whole post-it note session thing, of writing down all the routines and putting them on post-it notes and then modeling them up. That is the most helpful thing when writing or doing a show, is sliding these components in, and everything we write, we do that with. And the first set of post-it notes will look nothing like the last set of post-it notes.
I think Cammy put a picture up a few weeks ago on his story.
They're still up.
Of the post-it notes from the Insane show, and I looked at it and went, it's not remotely close to what the show is now at all.
No, exactly.
But obviously for the better. But again, as you say, you can then visually move and chop and change and see how it'll look without just trying to think about how it is. Obviously, one of the other things that you mentioned there was the collaborative nature between you 3 guys. Obviously, you have 3 totally different outlooks on magic and performance and presentation. So I can imagine there's probably a lot of conflict of interest when you're throwing out ideas. How important is it to have that open mind and be able to take on what other people are saying, but still, you know, get your point across? Because at the end of the day, if your idea is the best, that's the one you want to go with. But it's still having that respect to be able to take from your peers as well.
You sort of become one mind to an extent. When we've worked with each other for about 3 years now, and you sort of do, when you're sat there, you sort of do become one person. You start riffing off of each other, and it is back and forth. And there's a lot of we're very, there's no idea it's a bad idea, right? Like anything comes out, because even though it might be absolutely shit, it might make us laugh, and something might stem off of it. So anything you think of comes out in conversation. It's never normally a case of I want to do my thing because it's the best. It's always we just want to do the best thing, right? So it's not competitive. It's very much collaborative, and it is, if someone's come up with a better method, or if someone might say something that's like, oh, well, yeah, that would work way better, let's obviously do that. Which is how a lot of our stuff, it might start from being like one person's idea. Like, for example, someone might say, let's do an impossible location, but it ends up in packing peanuts or whatever, right? And then like, okay, well, actually, no. So that's a prime example, right? The routine we do, Heist, where we borrow some objects and they appear in a box, was never initially with packing peanuts in a clear box that you see. This won't make any sense for listeners. Hang on, let me work this out. We do a trick in our show called Heist, where we borrow 3 objects, they vanish, and they appear inside a clear box that's packed with packaging peanuts, and they've been in there throughout the whole show, right? That started as a wooden packing crate, was the initial idea. It was a packing crate that had been shipped in. And at the start of the show, we said, this has been mailed in today. We sent it from the UK, and we put it down. And then the items vanish at the end of the show, and they're already inside that box. And as we were doing that, as I've said it earlier in the podcast, but like the whole it will reveal itself thing, I just said to Cal, I was like, what if it was a clear box and you could see through it and it was filled with packing peanuts? Like nothing can get in, nothing can get out. It's locked instead. And we had that idea sort of the first week of the run, but it couldn't build it in time. And then we had that made for Edinburgh. So yeah, there's never competitiveness to it. It's always just whatever's the best is the best, right? And the best method is always the one that works, and the one that works quickest as well. So yeah.
I think that little tidbit of knowledge there at the end's massive. So there's 5 seconds that make this podcast worthwhile. Not to say that everything else you said wasn't, but yeah, that's a massive point there. And as you say, at the end of the day, the thing that you want is the best performance and the best show for your audience. And I think a lot of people tend to forget that when they're creating shows, and they often create shows for themselves, which is also important.
Yeah,
But
there's an element as well of a lot of magicians create shows for magicians, but you know, maybe at the fringe, it's maybe 0.1% of the people that come see our show are magicians. And the magicians that see it, they love it because there are some really phenomenal methods in there. But equally, we're not going out of our way to fool magicians. We're going out of our way to fool people, right? And to do the best show we can. A lot of our stuff is very deceptive and it is very fooling. But yeah, we're always trying to play to the masses, you know, not the two people in there.
I think another thing that really assists in making your show what it is the fact that you guys are just three best friends.
Yeah.
And you can really feel that on stage. It's not characters that you're portraying. It's not like script. I mean, obviously it's scripted.
Yeah.
But it still feels very natural in its way because it is just you guys riffing off each other. And obviously, having seen the show many a time, there are show pranks and there are ad-libs on certain days and there are little script changes. And it keeps it fresh for you guys. But again, it adds to that same like nature of it being like this thoroughly enjoyable thing. Because you guys are enjoying yourself and because the magic's good, that means the audience is like, fuck yeah, this is something I can really get behind. Yeah,
we're having fun, right? So the audience is going to have fun. I mean, there's an element as well to that. There's some shows I've been to where I've thought, well, the person on stage was having a lot of fun, but you don't necessarily have as much fun, which is very different. But in this case, we are all having fun, and like we open a show by throwing frisbees around the room, and we're just having a laugh. Like we enjoy it. We love being on stage. We love performing. So we are just having good fun.
Yeah, and that comes across, and the people can feel that, and then that vibe gets reciprocated. And I mean, the show's fantastic as well, so that also helps. Because it's all well and good being great on stage, but if your show's shit, it's not going to be a good show.
Yeah.
Which is something I already hear, actually. I was flicking through this for ideas for questions and just stuff to pull up. And one of the parts was talking about the Fringe, and obviously saying that one of the common misconceptions of the Fringe is that everybody's going to lose money. And I think the specific line says something along the lines of, if your show's shit or your shit, you're probably going to lose money.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're probably going to do all right because you're putting good stuff forward, which I found absolutely hilarious. And it's just like
the other problem is there is a lot of shit at the Fringe as well, and at any arts festival. But that's why you are allowed to be shit, right? Like everyone's shit there. So like I've done really bad shows at the Fringe, but you're allowed to.
Yeah. Again, it's open to interpretation as well, because what you might think is shit or what you might think is a shit show might then be well reciprocated by an audience, or vice versa. You might think you have a really good show. That is just not the case.
Yeah.
Just a quick interruption before we get into the next question. Obviously, with this podcast comes a ton of recommendations from guests of either books or tricks, and logically, I turn to MAGICBOX. Not only do they usually have exactly what I need, but I can get it the next day. Plus, Graham and the team really know their magic, so if I have any questions or queries about a product, they're ready to answer over the phone or email. And as a bonus for you listeners at home, you can also grab 10% off with the code PATCT. Just head to magicbox.uk.com and use the code at the checkout. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. Now back to the episode. But yeah, we're going to take a little bit more of a deep dive into your creative thinking, and we're going to take a quick look at your Fool Us routine, which is from, is it the most recent season of Fool Us?
Yeah, I posted it 7 months ago, so I'd imagine so. They haven't done enough seasons.
So we're going to take a... Oh.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
We're going to take a quick look at that. Obviously, before we start this, we're not going to show the full clip because it's like 10 minutes long. We're just going to show a brief section of the main sort of effect. Is there anything you'd like to preface this with about the general process of Fool Us, or any of the bits that we're not necessarily going to see in this clip?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about Fool Us for a very long time. And this has been a huge goal of mine for as long as I can remember. This routine is something I worked on for about 3 years, I think. I had this idea. Actually, so I used to do this trick where I put a mouse trap on my tongue, and Harry de Cruz actually said to me, what would you do if you had 100 mouse traps? And that was the sort of brief he gave me to help and see if I could come up with something with it. And this is what I ended up coming up with. It was a my take on the card stab effect or the card sword, where cards are thrown up in the air and you catch one with a sword. Instead, mousetraps are thrown in the air and I catch it on my hand. There's a lot of comedy. I'm not using the word built-in comedy. There's a lot of comedy I have built into this act. I also preface it by doing mousetrap on the tongue, which is pretty much just stand-up, but it's more to set the tone and just to tell people I don't take myself seriously and that there might be a little bit of danger involved in this, but I can take the pain is what that's there for. And then we're now in the part of I think where you're about to play.
Is the perfect sort of setting for that, as you say, especially with the way that you go about doing your sort of dangerous stunt tricks. You don't want the people sat in that tension for so long that it's like daunting to watch.
Yeah.
And by setting the tone with the mousetrap and tongue, you're immediately saying, like, you can have fun with this. Like, sit back, relax, enjoy this. It's going to look painful. It is a bit painful, but it's going to be funny. You're going to enjoy it, and you can. Whereas if you just went straight into it, it might not necessarily have that same gravitas, because people aren't then seeing the magic for the amazement. They're being like, oh, and it's that pain that they're reciprocating, not the effect itself.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm letting people know that it does hurt a little bit, but it's not gonna kill me. It's not that dangerous. The other thing is, if anyone wants to watch the full video, it's called "Can Luke Osey Fool Penn and Teller with a Mousetrap?" Spoiler alert: no, I can't.
I will have the full video linked in the show notes, so if you want to check it out, please do.
Hi, Brooke.
Hi.
How's it going?
Going great.
Awesome. I have a pen for you. Could you uncap that for me?
Sure.
We're going to make this trap just a little bit more unique.
Okay.
So I want you to sign it in this area right here, okay? I'll hold the trap.
On this part?
Yeah, perfect. Now, the pink bit is my thumb. Okay, perfect. Okay. If you could recap the pen and hold on to that, that would be brilliant.
Sure.
We can now all see Brooke's signed mousetrap. We're going to take your trap, Brooke, because this time we're going to set it again, and I'm not going to put it on my tongue.
Yeah, I can put it on my tongue.
Yeah, we are. No. Yeah, here comes the choo-choo train. I'll grab the pen. See, Brooke, along with this trap, I also brought my collection of 80 other mousetraps.
Okay.
I've collected these over the years, and most of them are set, so we're going to be rather careful. We're going to add your trap to the mix.
Okay.
I'm going to give the traps a little shuffle. It's okay, I didn't want them anyways. And none of them are your signed ones, so we're fine. Brooke, I'm going to ask you to take one little step back just there and a little bit to my right.
Okay.
Perfect. And hold on to this nice and carefully. It is a little bit heavy, so be careful.
I got it.
On the side, so you've got a good grip on it, yeah?
Okay, you're scaring me.
You'll be fine. In a moment, Brooke, you're going to throw every single mousetrap at me.
Okay.
More specifically, at my hand right here.
Okay.
And I'm going to attempt to catch your trap in mid-air.
Okay.
And as an audience together, we're going to count down from 5 to 1. And when I say now, and only when I say now, Brooke, you're going to bring those traps to me, okay? Throw them all in the air.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Audience, are we ready?
Yes.
Brooke, are you ready?
I'm ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now! Brooke, I caught a trap, and you're right to hold your applause until you see the signature.
No way.
Brooke, can you come here and confirm that is your signed mousetrap?
That is my mousetrap.
So obviously you mentioned before that this sort of came off the back of a chat with Rory, in that he was like, what if there was 100 mousetraps? Where did that premise then snowball into this, and why did you specifically pick this trick for Fool Us and not one of your other tricks?
So it was Harry, but
sorry, Harry de Cruz, not Rory Adams. So many names have been mentioned.
Yeah, so I've always wanted to do Fool Us, right? And it was this trick that sort of came about that I thought, okay, this is unique, this is mine, this is going to be the one I do. A lot of the other tricks which I've come up with are kind of more close-up tricks, and I, for gigs and stuff, I want to be doing more stage gigs, more corporates, more shows, and so I figured, okay, well, the stuff that surely if I'm doing TV, I want to do the thing that I want to be getting gigs for. So that's why I did a stage routine. A few magicians actually at Blackpool, because it came out like the weekend of Blackpool, so a bunch of people watched it.
I remember you frantically sitting and I can't remember where you were, trying to get it downloaded to then get it posted. Yeah.
Or someone else did, yeah. So yeah, and a lot of magicians said like, oh, we got loads of stuff that's more sort of fool us appropriate. Like you've got a lot more deceptive tricks and stuff like that. I thought, well, yeah, but I want to get my character across. I want to do the jokes I want to do, which a lot of the jokes were obviously a much more family-friendly version of the jokes I would do for this routine. And you also notice that I sound a bit robotic-y in it, and that's because I've scripted it so heavily so that I don't slip up and say a naughty word or anything like that. And that being said, I obviously do a lot of family-friendly stuff, so I'm good at that. But I wanted to make sure I didn't say anything, I didn't stutter. That's why it feels a bit more sort of robotic-y. Yeah, so Harry de Cruz, he said to me, what would you do with 100 mousetraps? Off the back of seeing me do the mousetrap on the tongue, and then I went into the world's most dangerous card trick. And we had a lot of ideas. And I think this sort of needle in a haystack idea was the one that came to mind. I really like the vision of me smacking my hand and it having one on there, which I think is fun. The visual of throwing all those traps everywhere is great as well. The visual of even like the gags of me shuffling them and they all pop out is funny. Funny enough, when I got there and I had to show them the trick, right? I had to show the producers the trick. The first thing I said is, we need more mousetraps. So I went down to the sort of, well, if you didn't know, in Penn and Teller's theatre in Rio, they have their theatre, and then behind the theatre is a huge workshop and storage facility. So if one of them has an idea for a trick or an illusion, they get the builders to build it straight away. And equally for Fool Us, if anything breaks or if they think they can make it slightly better on the spot, they'll do that for you. And yeah, one of the producers said we need more mousetraps. So their job was to find a bunch of mousetraps and make them look exactly like the ones I already had. So yeah, that's why there's a big bowl of them. Before there was like 20 and now there's like 80.
That's really impressive on their part. Yeah. And it's really nice of them on that part to want the best for you as well. I think a lot of productions, we'll not get into the nuances of Got Talent shows, but I've heard some nightmare stories of the performer not necessarily coming across exactly how they wanted because of admin decisions. So it's nice to hear that they were wanting what was both best for the show as a whole, but also making what you were doing as good as possible too.
Yeah, I mean, their whole thing is that they just want to put good magic on TV. And it becomes very, very clear from the moment you get there and you start working with them that is their whole goal. They want you to fool Penn and Teller. They want to put good fooling magic on TV. It was by far the best production I've worked on. I've had the pleasure to work on. It was just phenomenal how professional everyone was and how much they cared about magic. They all really care about magic. They all love magic. So yeah, it was really nice. Meeting Penn and Teller and chatting to them was also really nice as well. And hearing their thoughts on it, it was just such a good experience. I'd love to do it again. I just don't have anything which I think would be appropriate for it yet. But maybe in a few years I'll go back on. We'll see.
Look forward to it. We are going to jump back into some of our other questions. I think I've got one more question before we move into the question deck and then slowly start easing out of the podcast. The next question is more comedy related in the sense that obviously, as you displayed there, you do very serious sort of high risk stunts, but you do make it lighthearted and you make it fun and engaging. How do you balance magic and comedy within your routines so that neither treads on the toes of the other one? Because at the end of the day, you want it to be comedy magic and not comedy and magic.
Yeah, so I think in some of my earlier shows, like Immature Magic, for example, it was definitely more of a case of stand up for 3 minutes of sort of storytelling and then a trick, right?
Yeah.
And actually growing out of that and into this style of comedy magic where the comedy flows through it is hard, but it's really nice. The great thing about doing comedy with magic as opposed to just comedy is the magic gives you something to talk about, right? Which is something that Paul Zerdin said to me on one of my first gigs. He said the magic gives you something to talk about, right? Like that's where the comedy comes from. it will, it will reveal itself, right? The jokes, and you'll find them over time. And it really is a whole thing of just flight time. I mean, you'll know from teching our shows that there are days where I go, oh, this is fun, I'm going to put this in today, and suddenly like something will come out of my mouth that I don't even know it's going to come out of my mouth, and it will get an amazing laugh. Do you remember the big chopper mic?
Big chopper mic.
So there's this gag that I do in Insane where I do an effect where I throw a knife at someone and I have them holding a plate and I ask them to move it down to protect the special parts. And occasionally they think it was funny to like put the board down by their knees. And on this one occasion, the guy did it, and I act like it's the first time anyone's ever done that. I give him the hero moment that he wants, and that also he deserves, because it is very funny for someone not in the industry. So he does that, and I burst out laughing. So does Cameron, and I look at Cameron, and out of nowhere I just go, "Yeah, they call him Big Chopper Mike on the streets." I don't even know if his name was Mike, to be honest. I think it was.
I don't think it was.
But yeah, honestly, but little moments like that, sometimes it's jokes that will reveal themselves. And also these things that will happen where you think it's the first time it's happened and you have that comeback, you will also be able to reuse, right? So then when it happens again, I've now got that in my locker. Yeah. So it really is a case of flight time and finding your voice and understanding that. Crowd works hard, so there's only one way to get good at it, and that's to do it, which is really unfortunate, because as much as we want to have these really scripted acts, to get good at that audience participation and leaning away from script slightly, it just comes from practice. And the same with hecklers, it just comes from practice.
For those wanting to get more into sort of the comedy side of magic and stage stuff, how would you say is best to ease themselves into that? Is it things like improv nights and comedy gigs and stuff like that? Because obviously with table hopping, you can get used to it by just doing it. You can't really just do stage.
That's the annoying thing, isn't it? There's not really, with close up, you're right. If someone wants to get into doing close up magic, they can go and get a residency where they can perform at a restaurant every week. You can really start from the bottom. There's not really a minimum fee you can do at residencies. You can offer it to them for 50 quid an hour or 50 quid for a couple of hours, and you can just get your reps in and get your flight time in. That will ultimately help you to become a people person and to become a performer. I did a lot of what I would describe as quite humbling gigs. I did a lot of like nightclub gigs where I'm walking around showing people tricks in a nightclub, which is hard. Bars as well, and obviously restaurants here and there. So I do think all of that definitely helps to just become comfortable with people. Becoming comfortable on stage is really hard, and that only becomes possible through flight time. I feel so natural on stage; it's not daunting, which is great. I did a lot of comedy clubs, so the issue is, as you say, there's not really an opportunity to perform on stage. If you're a kid, if you're under 18, take any opportunity that gets thrown at you. So charity event. When I was at school, I was doing little charity gigs here and there. I was doing 10 minutes on stage, school talent shows, performing in assemblies, putting on little shows at lunchtime, like anything like that. It's really great. And if you're a bit older, again, still taking any opportunities and doing these charity nights. Obviously, if they're looking at booking a magician, don't undercut them and give them a worse show. But if it's the type of thing where they wouldn't pay for a magician anyways, there's no harm in doing it. And just getting that flight time, especially when you're starting out. I did a few months of just doing the comedy circuit around Scotland, which it's tough, right? Because I really want to get into comedy, and I pushed myself as hard as I could. I would sort of try and do the least amount of magic possible. So maybe one trick in a 5 to 10 minute set, but it'd be quite a short trick. That's really helpful. And you really have to lean into comedy thing. I've done comedy courses, I've done improv courses, I've done clown workshops, I've done the lot. And they do help. They're good fun as well. And if you want to learn a bit more about that kind of thing, you really just do have to bomb a lot before you get good. The clown workshop I did, the whole premise of it was to make people bomb, and then you sort of come up and you rise above it, right? Like there's only one place to go. The same with, some of the comedy workshops. There are good comedy workshops out there, and they will help you, and you will understand a bit. You do kind of get boxed into this formula of how to write jokes and stuff. And again, it comes with gigging and sort of, it's like learning to drive, right? Eventually you forget everything you've learned and you're just doing your own method of it, which I think is super important. So read the books about comedy, watch a lot of comedy, go support it, go watch live comedy nights, and do some open mic nights if you want to get into that kind of comedy thing. Come to the Fringe, bash out a bunch of spots. You could do 5 spots a day at the Fringe for random free shows. You won't get paid. You'll lose a lot of money just from doing spots, but you'll get your flight time in.
Yeah, I think my brain, the second I opened my mouth there, was just like, nope, you don't think. I think one of the main things that differs between comedy and magic is you have nothing to hide behind with comedy. At the end of the day, with magic, you can hide behind the trick because you know it's going to be impressive.
Yeah.
Comedy, you don't have that. So putting yourself in a position where you're doing that will help your magic in an abundance.
Yeah, I always, if I did a comedy club, I'd always still have a trick in my locker. So that even if all of my comedy material bombed, I still had the trick to fall back on. So my tic-tac routine, you've probably seen me do 100 times. The actual full version of that started at comedy clubs. So I do tic-tac from eye, but it is a sort of full stand-up routine. So anyone on the podcast that's asking, no, you can't see it because you'll nick my jokes. No, but genuinely, it's a full stand-up routine, which ends with the tic-tac coming out of my eye. And that is a really fun one to do at comedy clubs because there's a tic-tac in my eye the whole time. So for me to do that, like, I was really pressured, and but the idea of doing as much sort of stand-up as I could before getting into the trick, and then the trick was like a reward for me being on stage, was good. Again, magic gives you something to talk about, right? So if you can build the jokes into the tricks, that's so much better. If not, try just doing stand-up, and you'll find that from learning it, it will seamlessly make its way into your magic.
I think on the flip side as well, another concept that you sort of introduced me to during the Insane process was using magic as a vehicle for comedy.
Yeah,
like that concept as a whole is crazy because
we use the term vehicle a lot. We say no, the trick is a vehicle for this big laugh, right? Or I mean, as I say, I never like the fact of using a trick for filler or anything like that, but sometimes a prime example, right, is I used to do knife through coats, right, knife through jacket. And it's I actually don't think it's a very good trick. I think most audience members, depending on the method, I think a lot of audience members know exactly how it works. But the reason I did that trick was it was a vehicle for the comedy, and the comedy was me pulling out random items from their jacket. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a routine where I could just pull stuff out of someone's jacket. So there was, an umbrella comes out. It's sort of, there was a little story, a little bag, a lot of drugs came out, basically. Never-ending stream of condoms as well. Just like, I made this guy whose jacket it was look like the biggest pervert drug dealer, and for me, and how immature I am, that was just like really funny. So exactly, the knife through coat bit, the actual trick was just a vehicle to get those laughs in. Getting laughs is so much more, in my opinion, so much more rewarding than or whatever. Like, getting those laughs from you being funny and your joke being funny is such an amazing feeling. And if I hammer those 6 to 8 laughs a minute, I've done good. My whole thing, especially my solo work, unless someone insane, because that is more focused on the magic. In my solo work, my main focus is I want the magic to be really good, and I want it to be really funny. As long as it's 2 things, I want it to be funny and magic. And if you look at the audience reviews, you will see that's exactly what people say. And I went out with trying to do that, and I did it, which is very, very pleased with.
Do you find it difficult to balance the level of magic and comedy, or is it just something that's came over time in that it's at the right level where one's not outshining the other one?
It's definitely at the right level now. So I would say in Immature, which is my last solo show before the Magic Hangover, I think I wasn't that funny, but there was a lot of space for stand-up in it, which was annoying because there was nowhere near enough magic in that show. There was actually only like 4 tricks in that show, which is not enough. So then when it came to writing The Hangover, I knowing what I know from Insane and giving the audience the most amount of magic possible, I still had the idea of I want there to be a lot of magic in this show. I don't subscribe to the idea anymore of 4 tricks in 1 hour. I think that's unless you are really, really funny and you're a stand-up first, people are there to see the magic, right? No matter if you're a comedy magician, you're still a magician first, really. You're not a comedian. So a lot of magic was really important to me. So that's kind of the main thing, is always make sure there's a lot of magic in there. The comedy finds itself.
Perfect. We are going to move into our final new segment of the podcast, which is no longer new because it's been here for many episodes, which is our question deck. So this is 52 cards, 52 questions. These range from prolific life questions to just the most random shit. So we'll see what comes out. It could be something thoroughly useful and entertaining, or it could just be something completely random. Guess we'll sharp see. I'm gonna go this way. So just call it stop whenever you want.
Stop.
Perfect. And this is our question: where do you find inspiration outside of magic?
I go to a lot of live entertainment. I think it's important to say I go to a lot of live entertainment when I'm not working, especially. Like I haven't really done a gig since the Fringe, but I've still been to see comedy nights. I've been to see shows in London because I think it's important to just support live entertainment, because if we don't, it won't be there anymore, right? So I think that's super important. A lot of my inspiration comes from that. And also my friends. I'm surrounded by a very, very good core group of people, and they're all inspiring to me every day.
What a beautiful answer to round it all off. When you're specifically going out to see shows, are you looking for things that you might find inspiring, or are you just going to see the most random shit just purely for entertainment purposes, and then the inspiration sort of comes off the back of that?
Yeah, I watch a lot of comedy because I find that when I watch comedy shows, I just do get ideas halfway. Like someone will say a joke, and I'll be like, and I'll have a trick that just pops up that could work with that joke. Obviously, I won't take their joke, but I'll have that trick idea, and then I can go on from there. Which is a blessing and a curse, because it kind of means that sometimes I'll be watching a stand-up show, and half an hour in, I sort of switch off because I'm thinking about this trick idea. But I go to a lot of like compilation nights where it's 10, 15 minutes each, because then at least it's rotating. So if that does happen, the next comic's on and it's fine. I go see some stuff in the West End. There's a lot of stuff that I want to see that's on at the minute. I want to go see Stranger Things for sure. Very good things about that. So. That was who did the magic on that? We know the magicians.
It was Chris Fisher and Jamie Harrison.
That's it. So I don't.
If you haven't seen Stranger Things, obviously it went across to Broadway, and they have a phenomenal documentary in which both Chris and Jamie pop up quite a few times talking about the struggles of obviously putting magic into such a big thing, and all of the things that they went through to get it to where it is today. And it's a very interesting watch, both for yourself and for those listening at home. So if you don't get a chance to go see the show itself, or even if you have seen the show and haven't seen the documentary, it's definitely worth checking out, because it's a very interesting insight into what it is they do. And I doesn't matter, I can't say what I was about to say because I don't think it's been announced yet.
It's going on tour, is it?
No, I mean, I think that has been announced. That's not what I was going to say, but yeah, I think that's already been announced anyway. Oh no, it's Harry Potter that's going to go on tour, I think.
Okay.
But again, that has already been announced. That's not a secret thing. What are your plans for the future? What do we have coming up for Luke Osland?
Good question. Well, it's not. When's this podcast coming out?
It's in like 4 days' time.
Okay, I'll have announced it by then. The next things that are coming up is we're doing Insane Magic in my hometown, which is amazing. I'm bringing our full show down to my hometown of Berkhamsted. That is almost sold out, which is amazing. We had to add a matinee, which is also selling really well, which is great. Then doing some Halloween shows in Scotland. So if you're in Edinburgh or Glasgow, those will be announced soon. We're doing a trick. I think it's going to be called Trick or Treat original. I know. Comedy magic extravaganza, if you will. So that'll be fun. I don't know.
Is that just yourself, or is that you and the boys? Or
it'll be me and one of the boys. it'll be me and one of the guys. At least one of the guys. The other one might turn up. We don't know. That's not an insane thing. That's very much a Luke thing, or Luke and one of them. But oh, it's a surprise. But yeah. So that's good. That's in Glasgow on the 25th of October, and it'll be in Edinburgh on the 24th. Just not sure. We haven't got a venue for it yet, but it will be there somewhere. We'll find a venue. And then I'm going to do whatever I want for Halloween, because that'll be fun. And then November's a busy month for Lukey. The first week of November, I'm going on tour as a support act for Piri and Tommy, who are a sort of music duo. They do kind of I don't know how to describe their music. Similar to Pink Pantheress, that kind of vibe.
Okay.
Quite drum and bassy sometimes. Yeah, really good music, like kind of Kelsey as well, quite electronic. So yeah, that'll be really fun. They've decided to have a magician on tour with them, which is amazing. We just locked that in today. So I'm going to open every show with 20 minutes of magic and mind reading. That'll be fun. And then we've got a few more insane shows in Scotland. I think just one we might add another show in Glasgow or something. And I'm going on a ship at the end of November. Anyways, that's my next 2 months. If I happen to be part of a venue near you, come see a show. It'll be really good fun. Next in life, right? We're going to Adelaide Fringe. I think probably we'll take our show to Australia again. The Edinburgh Fringe will be back bigger and better than ever. At some point, we will go on tour and we'll do a full-blown, probably theatre tour, I think. So that's worth looking out for as well. People keep saying to me like, "Oh, when are you going to come to this city? When are you going to come to this one?" Insane will do a proper tour at some point, just not sure when. But yeah, that's sort of what's on the cards. Just shows, just doing lots of shows.
And you've got South Tyneside Magic Festival Family Extravaganza in October as well.
That we do have that. Oh, and also I'm putting out some more products on Visual Magic Store this year, at the end of the year. So buy those. Because otherwise my family won't get Christmas presents. So it's rude.
There you go.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners find you? Where can we keep up to date with the stuff that you're doing, the stuff that Insane's doing? Where can we find all of the fun stuff that you're doing?
On social media is best. Instagram's the best place to see us. At Luke Osey and at Insane Magic Show. I have a mailing list on Visual Magic Store. You can sign up to that. I also have a mailing list on Luke Osey, which is purely, it's not really, don't sign up to that. It's not for magicians. So it's, yeah, but Visual Magic Store, you can sign up to that one. Yeah, but so Instagram's the best place.
Perfect. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to seeing all of the crazy stuff that you've got planned. And yeah, hopefully working with you guys a lot more on the shows that you're doing, because it's been a lot of fun. And
It is a lot
thank
of
you
fun,
for
isn't it?
the support that you've given me and allowing me to sort of be a small cog in the wheel that is your magical life. So I appreciate it massively.
We didn't even actually talk about that, but for context, Corey is quite a crucial part of Insane. Sometimes he texts out and fringe shows. He's quite often a sort of stagehand as well, and yeah, he does a lot for Insane.
Prop builder.
Yeah, prop builder. Yeah,
light fitter.
Yeah, he's part of the Insane team. So yeah, worth noting.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a steep learning curve as well.
Yeah, it's a good show to work on though. You
want to tech our show? Yeah. When's the first show? Glastonbury. Can you tech it?
No.
Yeah. No.
I think you've learned a lot working on Insane, which is good.
Yeah. It's been a very, very adventurous.
Yeah.
And as I say, steep learning curve. But
Tom's learned a lot as well. Tom's learned a lot from Insane as well, I think.
Yeah. I think everyone has. I think it's been a massive sort of tornado over the past few years.
Yeah.
It's all slowly coming together, and it's working out for the best for everyone. So
I think it's come together. I think we're at a point with Insane now where like the product is there. It's taken us 3 years, but I think it's in a pretty solid state right now. Where we're all happy with it.
I think one of the things that you mentioned sort of at the end of the Fringe was that the show was almost like dead set from the start this year, which I think just goes to show the progression that you guys have made over the past few years. Because I know certainly last year there was a lot of chops and changes with routines and things like that. But this year, it stayed 95% the same.
Yeah, there's always at least one, if not a couple of routines that we cut. We also rejig the whole show. We changed premises and stuff. We changed a lot of stuff. This show, it was very, very small things that we had to change. Like very, very small things of scripting or handling. It was never full routines or
shows.
Yeah, or full show. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, you've seen the show where we had to literally scrap the whole show and start again, which is never a fun place.
Mid-run.
Yeah, well, what a nightmare that was. But yeah, no, Insane's in a pretty good place right now, and it will be bigger and it will be different next year as well. I know I'm definitely going to change my solo acts. Can't speak for the boys on theirs. I've done my solo 150 times now. That's too much. Stick in a cruise ship show instead. Let them see it. But yeah, no, I think Insane's in a very good place at the minute.
Excellent. Well, looking forward to being a small cog in that wheel. But again, thank you so much for dedicating the time this evening to share a little bit of your knowledge and a little bit of a behind the scenes on your creative process, because I know certainly I've learned a lot from you over the years and from the conversation that we've had today. So hopefully the viewers and listeners at home have also taken something from that as well.
No, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Not a problem at all. Obviously, if you guys at home have enjoyed it, please leave a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you're listening. If you're on YouTube, obviously subscribe, leave a comment with something that you've learned from Luke, or if you have any nice stories about yourself and Luke, let us know. That might be interesting.
If they've made it this far, comment Feathers McGraw.
Feathers McGraw.
Yes.
He's there. He's there.
He's on my arm as well. Yeah. Feathers McGraw. Feathers McGraw.
It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.